David is, from Icebox Videos, he's filming this, and then in the evening he's going to film the concert tonight as well, with 2 cameras. So with the idea that we might actually then put that concert on sale for David to recoup his costs for doing so, and we will have something to remember this year by, and certainly remember the Arts Centre by. There are 182 tickets sold for tonight. Wherever Fred goes, he sells out. He certainly sells out here. He sold out last year in this venue. Within 3 weeks of the tickets going on sale, I think you sold out so quickly last time.
Yeah. Hundreds were disappointed, and several more couldn't get in.
Yeah. And we've sold out again this year. And there are 18 tickets there. If I go to 200, I've got gym mats coming in. So if any of you want to come back tonight, you can buy tickets at £4 a ticket to sit on the gym mats. Okay, if you fancy it. If you don't worry. But it's your opportunity to actually meet Fred Wedlock and talk to him. Okay, so I'll hand you over.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I don't know whether this is supposed to be a proper kind of careers talk or just a general natter or what. It's up to you. You make it what you want. If you want to ask questions, you ask questions. And we'll go in any direction you want to go in. I suppose we'll start off from the point of view of careers in the leisure industry, or in entertainment specifically, if any of you are interested in that. Can I ask you first of all, has anybody ever considered a career in showbiz? One hasn't, 2 out, 3 out. Yeah, I mean, in what branch? Actual performance, in the back, technical, what? Who would like to be a performer as a profession? Well, yeah, all right, sort of toying with the idea. Can I ask anybody why you would like to? I mean, those of you who don't want to know about it. If somebody said you are brilliant at doing singing or whatever, you know, you're terrific at karaoke, why don't you get a band behind you, you can make a lot of money, would you consider going in? Why would anybody want to be in showbiz? Anybody think of one reason for going into showbiz?
Money.
Money, right? Yeah, good reason. That's why I'm not a teacher anymore, yeah. Any other reasons for going in? Yeah, to enjoy yourself. Yeah, in what way? Because that's a very crucial point. But why would you have fun? Well, that's the sort of same answer to the question, isn't it, really? Yeah. Why do you enjoy doing it? Because I'll tell you that standing up performing in front of a bunch of people, those of you who've done it, you're usually terrified before you go. Has anybody ever had stage fright? Anybody, you know, a concert, a play, whatever? Absolute terror before you go on. And you experience that nearly every time. Now, how can you call that fun? Did you still enjoy doing it afterwards? You did, didn't you? Yeah, because you get a high. You get a real adrenaline high. And if you're a performer, the highs are very high, and the lows are so low you wouldn't believe. I mean, when you get an audience that gives you the one-handed clap, you know, you go off to the sound of your own footsteps, that sort of thing, or they throw stuff at you, or they walk out, and that's happened. And I've played to audiences that have done that where they were fully armed as well, in army camps and places. It is dreadful. You want to go and hide under a chair somewhere. So you've got this great contrast between high and low. Basically, the leisure industry is a growing market because we've got a population that's getting older and older all the time, isn't it? You've noticed more and more geriatrics lurking around, haven't you? Many of them working in this school, probably. Also, you've got people working less hours these days for the same sort of money, so they've got more leisure time. Like teachers who've got huge, vast holidays. Now, somebody's got to go and amuse them during the summer, haven't they? You've got people with long holidays these days. So the leisure industry covers all sorts of things, from Butlins holiday camps to actually performing at shows, all the way through being on television, standing up recording shows, doing the technical stuff, making records for other people, all that sort of thing. It's a huge, huge industry, and it's growing. So that's one reasonable reason for going into it. The business about the glamour of it, which a lot of people assume, because you see, you think, right, if I go into showbiz, that means I can get on a flight on Cathay Pacific to Australia, and I can smoke if I feel like it, and I can effing blind all over the place and annoy all the other people in a Mancunian accent, and I can get away with it because I'm Oasis, so there. And you can, because when you're that big and you make so much money, you can do more or less what you damn well like. And if you do anything fairly evil, you usually make a profit out of doing that as well. That's the way the world runs, unfortunately, whatever the official policy tells you. But it is. So there's that. Just a few people who can get away with that sort of thing. On the other hand, there's an awful lot of people who work in clubs and pubs for threat and take me, who can't do that, who can't afford to do that. And it's very, very hard work down at the other end. And you usually have to bring your own coffee, and somebody gives you a whole can of Diet Coke, and it's really flash and glamorous. Yeah. It's just the rough end of it. Eh? Perhaps if I tell you how I got into showbiz, I'll tell you what I do now. For those of you who are thinking, who is this sad old geriatric that they wheeled in front of us now to talk about? Nothing in particular. What I do, on my passport it says entertainer, right? And the photograph is quite dodgy as well. But I do after dinner speaking at like sports clubs and company functions. So, you know, if a big company has their annual dinner, and they'll have a dance, and they'll have somebody to get up after the dinner and try to be amusing. Talk a bit about the company, take the mickey out of them, mention the rivals, sing a few silly songs, take the mickey out of the managing director, that sort of thing. So I do a fair bit of that. I do folk music clubs, because I started off doing folk music clubs and I still enjoy doing it. That's where you play proper sort of musical things rather than just sort of silly songs. I do a bit of television. I did a series, about 3 series last year, one of which was with my daughter, where I was kind of introducing her to music around the centre of Bristol, where I used to play a lot. I did another one which was an historical one, all about the West Somerset Railway. Yeah, wow, exciting, eh? Steam Railway, good up. And I loved it. It was great, because I used to go on holiday down there, and that was a real pleasure to do that programme. So I enjoyed that. Some of the other sort of stuff was pretty hard work. And I did another one for the BBC on walks around the Somerset coalfield, which is utterly fascinating. So that's the sort of thing I do. I usually work about 3 shows a week, or I do art centres as well now and again. About 3 shows a week, I suppose. And on average, for doing a big company function, I would get paid about 400 quid a night, that sort of thing, for maybe 500 if it's a big company, depends on where it went, which might sound enormous. Out of that, of course, you pay your agent and you pay your travel, and you have to pay for absolutely everything. I mean, that's your sort of top rate. A lot of people get a lot more than that. I'll tell you a bit later on the kind of fees which some people would claim for one night's work. A lot of these do's I do are like sportsman's evenings, where you've got, say, a football club annual dinner, end of season do, and they'll have a famous footballer along, an ex-England player usually, and he will stand up and tell stories about who was doing what to who on which England tour and all that sort of stuff, and be rude about people, and then I'll get up and do a bit as well. And usually these ex-England players, you know, they'll be earning about 700 or 800 quid a night for doing that, and they'll maybe work for maybe 5 nights a week. Christmas, I mean, you'll work just about every night through December. So yes, you can make reasonable money if you're doing that sort of work. If you're doing the kind of clubs and pubs work, I mean, you've been in pubs, haven't you, where there've been like a duo up in the corner, or a solo guitarist with a backing tracks and a drum machine and all that sort of stuff, bashing out country and western or rock or blues or whatever. Normally, people doing that sort of stuff would be earning about £100 a night, probably. So again, you know, think about that. You get the other side, the classical side of the business, where you've got like orchestral players and singers, opera singers, who have enormous profile and look very famous and look very glamorous, and in fact they're earning less than a lot of the people playing in pubs. Really are. Although obviously Pavarottis are earning things with 12 noughts on the end, but most orchestral players are scratching to make a living. I mean, they really are fighting for a living. Same goes for actors. Last year I did a play, Bristol Old Vic, and it went on for about 6 weeks. That was about 3 weeks rehearsal, 3 weeks doing the play. It was all about Bristol docks, and I had to talk in a Bristolian accent, which was ever so difficult to do, of course, as I was born right in the middle of the city. So it was great. I enjoyed doing it, but the pay for that, now it doesn't matter whether you're somebody ever so famous, and they've had really famous people down there performing in plays. The basic rate for an actor is 250 quid a week, and that's because it's just gone up from 240. That's for a week. You do 8 performances during the week. Everybody gets that. The star of the show, right down to one of the extras. You get 240 quid a week. They also very kindly, if you're having to live away from home, say you're based in London, you're working in Bristol, they'll pay you another 55 quid a week subsistence. Of course, you can live on 55 quid a week, can't you? That's, you know, your accommodation and food and entertainment and that. Brilliant, isn't it? And that is the pay for actors, even famous ones. So think about that if you decide to go in that direction. Right, that's giving you a sort of rough idea about pay scales. Give me a bit of paper. Hang on, I've got a note somewhere. I just had a word with one of my agents about some of the sort of fees that people are getting. This is for who we got here? This is for, say, doing a one-night stand, right? Say a big company function. Somebody like Des O'Connor. Now these figures are about 2 years old, all right? So add on a bit of inflation. Des O'Connor. Have you heard of him? Have you heard of Des O'Connor? Just about. I mean, you've heard people say about him, haven't you? Yeah. What would you guess he was on? If you ran a company and you wanted him to come and talk at your company conference or something, what do you reckon you have to pay him? Any idea? Yeah. How many? Well, 7,000 was the fee a couple of years ago. Right? One night. Chris Tarrant. You've seen Tarrant on TV, have you? Any guesses? Yeah, about 10. About 10 you want now. It's one night, mate. Bobby Davro, you get him for about 7. Where have we got? Bob Monkhouse, about 9 or 10,000 pounds a night. Good, eh? Bruce Forsyth. Yes, he'd have to pay me, but still, about 7 or 8, haven't he? Frank Bruno, on about 2,500, 3,000 quid. He wouldn't talk for long, mind. You could have all the Barron Knights for about 4,000. We got Jasper Carrot. Any guesses? I used to work with Jasper. I was on one of his singles and he recorded some of my songs, and we used to be very close mates. Well, in fact, we still are, but I used to stay with him up in the Midlands, and he used to stay with me when he was working in the South, and we both worked in the folk clubs, going around doing it for about 50 quid a night. We damn good money. You know, we're talking about 20 years back now, and in fact, Jasper's children have got the same names as my children. We've been close mates for a while. And Jasper put his fee up, he was doing folk music clubs, to 70 quid a night. He put his fee up to. This was a while back now. We all thought, he's mad, he'll starve, he'll never get anywhere. Well, of course he did. If you wanted Jasper now, any guesses? 16,000. That's what it would cost you to have Jasper. Because he's very exclusive, he doesn't do a lot of stuff. And he's very desirable. Anyway, there's a sort of rough idea. What have we got here? So, yeah, I mean, that's at the top end of it, which is why everybody says, yeah, and it's the same, you know, with footballers, isn't it? I mean, we all know damn well a lot of footballers make a lot of money, and the vast majority of footballers don't. We know that one or a few snooker players, you watch the final of the snooker and you think, God, what's he going to do with £250,000 quid? For God's sake, it's ridiculous. But there's a whole dozens and hundreds of professional snooker players, who just turned pro, who are making a bit of a loss. I mean, they've got to pay their own transport and accommodation and all that sort of stuff. Same with golfers. So it's not, you know, you can be deceived by the top end of it. So, any questions so far? Am I interesting you? Are you here, you know, is this what we want to talk about? Do you want to go in a different direction? You ask me. Is this sort of sensible stuff? Yes, nobody's objecting. Yeah. How much do I get paid for working here? That is a secret between me, the organisation and the Inland Revenue. But my normal fee for an evening is around 400 quid. Now I might be getting more, might be getting less. Yes, it's about that. But I don't work many evenings, you see. I mean, maybe 3 a week. If I'm lucky. Anyway, right, okay. Now look, let's talk about the entertainment industry, right? Specifying it over towards the sort of music performance side, right? We've dealt with acting and that sort of thing. You don't have to be a performer. I mean, a lot of people get up and try and perform and are terrified and are constantly terrified and cannot hack it. I have actually known a performer get up when he was introduced and walk out because he just lost his bottle. I was there when it happened, you know, and he was a very funny performer and he just lost it, cracked. Other performers will get up and say, yeah, I'm a stroppy little bugger, I'm going to take this lot on, yes. You know, some people have that attitude. Varies enormously. But you don't have to be a performer. There's all sorts of other sides too. There's the manager of a club, the person who employs the performers. Running a club is a different story, really. You're a bit more like a pub landlord in that respect. But you've got to be reasonably aware of what your punters want in the way of entertainment. You're the one who's putting up the money, and you're the one who's going to carry the loss if that performer doesn't pull people through the door. So there's that side of it. Actually, that's a sweat. I mean, you're up late every night. You've got to clean the place, you know, before the smell of smoke gets stuck into it. It's a silly, antisocial hours job, but it appeals to some people. And of course, you can sit there once you've done your stuff. You put all the beer in the afternoon. You've got the performer there. His roadies have turned up. They've set up the gear, fine, and you can sit there wearing a silk suit, gold medallions all over yourself, swanning it in front of the bar and being the big I am and having your photograph taken with famous people. That appeals to some people. Yeah. And good luck to them, because without them I wouldn't make a living. You've got the promotion side of it, which is where somebody will put on a show. That's where you will say, book a hall. Can you hear me okay? With all the riot going on out there.
A drama lesson.
It's what?
A drama lesson.
Can't I do mine or something? Go and tell me. What was I talking about? Yeah, promotion. That's where if, say, you had a bunch of your mates who had a little band and you thought they were pretty damn good, you could go to a venue, pub or club, and say, I want to book this band in, I will do the advertising, I will take the money on the door, I will carry the risk, and if they fill the place, I will make a lot of money, and if they don't, I will lose a lot of money. And that goes on, of course, at all levels. You can be in that business as a entrepreneur, if you want. Impresario is the other word for it, that you put on shows. People who put on very big shows, right up at the top end of it, make several £1,000,000. On the other hand, you can run an open concert in Hyde Park and it can belt with rain and you can lose a fortune. So, that's another branch of showbiz. Agency is another one. Now that's where you sit in a little office with a little computer and you have lots of people like myself on your books, and people ring you up and say, I run this club, I want a bloke what sings, I want a comedian, and I want a girl that takes her clothes off, and I want them on Friday night, can you fix me up? And you as the agent will look at your books and say, yes, I got him and her, I'll just give them a ring, and then you check up whether they're available, and you say, he will cost you 150 quid, she will cost you 150 quid, and the disco will cost you 150 quid, and the club organiser says, yeah, all right then, that's on my budget, 4.5, we'll go for it. The agent will then book up the artists and take, say, 15% is the norm off each of those fees. So he will make whatever 15% of 450 quid is, which of course you calculated instantly as not a lot of money really. But you imagine an agent who's got dozens of people ringing in every day for club venues and companies ringing in and all that sort of stuff. And somebody might ring in and say, I want Des O'Connor. And the agent says, yeah, right. And he looks up Des O'Connor in the little blue book, or in Spotlight, or in one of the trade magazines. He then rings up Des O'Connor's manager and he says, can he do that date at this place? The manager says, yes, he'll want 10 grand for doing it. And the agent says, right, grand for me, grand for you, 8 for Des, and we'll rip the club off somewhere down the line as well, and we'll go for it, and if it's all fixed up. At that level, you can make a hell of a lot of money, agency. Recording, video, roadies, techies. You wear jeans, you wear a black sweater, you usually have long hair, very long hair. You usually have a bunch of keys tied on your belt. Techies, as they're known, always do this sort of thing. They're performers who didn't really like performing and decided to get out of it and slide into something connected with it. And they were too honest to be agents. True, come on. They usually own an anorak as well. If you're on the technical side, you have got to be, because the technology is going so fast. I mean, I use a little PA system, it's about 10 years old, that little setup. That is primitive, it's a bloody good system. Very poky, it's strip wallpaper if I crank it up. But you are probably more up to date than me. And then tomorrow, what you know will be out the window anyway, because something else, I mean, you know how fast technology is moving now. And it's like cameras, you can get something the size of a matchbox that will do the job that something the size of a cathedral had to do years ago. So, yes, you've got to be a bit of an anorak. You've got to learn an awful lot and you've got to keep up with it. And it's a very good business if you like that sort of thing. If you've got the patience to sit there with tape editing I mean, God, I hate editing. I hate studios. I'm a performer. I like audiences. I don't like studios. I work with musicians who love studios and are scared stiff of audiences. And techies, they tend to be the people who can do it in a studio. Fine, good living to be made if you're skillful. Some of the best editors I've worked with, this is television editors now, are women. That's not a sort of sexist observation or anything, it is a simple fact. Some of the best I've worked with are women. They've got a much more delicate touch, and you're talking about microsecond work. You know, when you're doing TV editing, and you've cut one piece into another, and you're working on combining a sound with half a lip movement. You know, you've got to be spot on to do it. You haven't got to have a pair of fists that chuck rugby balls around. You've got to be pretty good. So, that's the technical side of it. What else? We're talking about the roadies, of course. One of the lower forms of entertainment life is the roadie, who goes around setting up gear for the band, also known as the humper or the gopher. Roadies usually have ponytails and wear jackets. I mean, a roadie has got to have a fair bit of muscle, really, because you're carrying a lot of heavy equipment around. You've got to be pale to be a roadie, because they never see the light of day. They come alive about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and they stay alive till about 5 in the morning, and then they go and hide in a smelly bed somewhere until the next day comes around. They're a sort of Neanderthal bunch, and they wear jackets from some band that they nicked them from. And it's hard work. Being a roadie is you might think, yeah, I could swan around the world with my favourite band, with Oasis or the Spice Girls, or or even a musical outfit. I could go around with one of them. Be close to God. It is bloody hard work being a roadie. Hot, sweaty, and not very well paid. So, but it keeps you close to the glamour. Right. Any questions? Either I'm brilliant or you're asleep. Very undemanding lot, aren't you, Rick? No, seriously, because I know some of you are doing GVMQ, what's it thing? Numerous initials with a V in it. What is it? Envy. I went to agricultural college. I got 5 BSEs, you see. Right, no questions so far? I mean, is this helping you at all? Or is it wasting half an hour for? What time have we got to finish?
They're very responsive as an audience.
Brilliant. Is it still like this in teaching?
Yeah, it's
come back.
Hasn't changed at all. We're quarter of an hour.
Oh right, okay. Hang on a minute. I
10 minutes.
Much so I detest Diet Coke, as it was very kindly given. Excuse me while I just spray this over the seat.
I'm straight on my seats, we're getting it.
I prefer the one that's got the extra caffeine in it, all this constant.
Oh, right.
Flavour free, sugar free, get on. I eat beef, I drink red wine, I smoke. Don't bloody care. Somebody's got to, otherwise there'll be a lot of starving tobacco workers, farmers, and drug peddlers. No, I don't. Don't do that. Right,
So, well, you had a question, didn't you? Come on.
I put my fan club fee up to 10 quid. It's not a lot, but that's all I can afford to pay you. No, there is sort of, but not an official one. I don't have a newsletter, I don't have a fanzine or anything like that. No, so I've been doing this for an awfully long time, and a lot of my fans are probably your grandparents, actually. I suppose I've been doing it for about 30 years. That's I've been pro for about 25 years, so no, 23. When I say so, I used to be what was known as a cult performer, and that was, I mean, you know what alternative comics are. That means only every other joke is funny, basically. Alternative comics is the sort of, it used to be the Ben Elton types, but the sort you get on at 11 o'clock at night, usually from the Montreal Festival, usually effing and blinding all over the place, you know, that sort of performance. And very funny, some of them, and appalling others, but still. Okay. Years ago, I used to be like that, except that I did music as well. And then I still do the same sort of thing, but nowadays, with the passage of time, what I did then really seems pretty tame now, see? So I'm now middle of the road with the Des O'Connors of the world and Terry Wogans now, MOR. So things change in showbiz, how language changes, how things you can talk about changes. Do I know actually how I got into the business? Would that be of any interest? What I did, I started off by accident. When I was a little boy, I had asthma. Well, I think of bronchiectasis. I lived in the middle of Bristol, which is all full of smoke and industry. And so, as a sort of therapy, I had to have singing lessons. And that sort of opened your lungs a bit when you was a kid. I joined Redcliffe Choir and became head choir boy eventually. And that was how I got a singing background and technique. Now, I lived in a pub on the docks. So I heard all sorts of stories and songs, which were mostly unprintable. So I applied the musical technique of the choir to the filthy songs, and I found that at school, that made you ever so popular. Being 5'5", you can get thumped, you see, unless you're very swift and aggressive. I became swift and aggressive. I actually became West of England Junior Judo champion to stop getting hit by people, and then I went around picking on people, which was fun. But I found what... Well, no, the thing is, seriously, you get pushed around. But if you can make people laugh, and then they don't hit you, basically, because I lived in a rough area, and I found that was useful. So I became the gang joke teller, the gang idiot, the gang singer. And it was great, it was one of the boys. And other members of the gang went round hitting people and that, you know, just trailed along, picked bits up. So, that's how I started. I actually stood up in the bar once. I was about 6 years old and I sang a song and they gave me threepence in old money, which is about 3/4 of a p in today's money. It's a lot of money in those days. And I thought, this is good, isn't it? Yeah, getting money for that. And then people gave me drinks for singing, and then later on I got beer for singing. And I thought, right, great, I'll have some of this now. And then people started offering me money for actually singing. And it was a hobby. It kind of took over. So there was folk clubs, and what it was called in those days, where you could just get in and get up and do a couple of songs called floor singers. Like you got up and there was a star on and you did it half an hour. And you got it, and that's how you got your experience. And then if you was any good, somebody would come along and say, "Hey, could you come to our folk club on Wednesday nights, and you know we'll pay you £3 plus all the brown ale you can bath in." You know. So I had some, and gradually it kind of either it dies out and you go off and be something sensible like an accountant, or it builds and you get offered more and more money to go farther and farther. But it got to the stage, I became a teacher, you see, because I couldn't actually do anything, so I thought I'd become a teacher. Good teaching. As if you're useless, they'll just make you headmaster, see. Brilliant. No, true. If you go off your trolley, you become an educational psychologist. Always something to do with teaching. Or you write books on education. That's a brilliant profession. And I thought I'll have a go at this, because it also meant I could go to London. Now, all the best clubs were in London then. So I'm sort of hobby singing, and I thought I've got to have a daytime job. So I taught in the East End of London. It's a bit of a baptism by fire. I mean, it makes you lot look like Eton, to be honest. The sort of classes that I had to teach. Usually with about 7 different languages, and most of them had seen anyway. And I was sort of singing by night and teaching by day. And then I came back, and And I thought, well, all right, I'll have a go at becoming trained now. So I went to training college for about a year, because I had a degree by then. And then I actually taught in Winterbourne. My first proper job was teaching at Elm Park. Isn't that nice? The Garden City down there. And that was great. So there's a good chance I may well have taught some of your parents. That's frightening, isn't it? Did I? Who was that? Oh, your mum Karen, is she? Lovely girl. Great character, Karen was. Yeah. Yes, she was. Karen was always one of those who was destined to be brilliant or be hung by the time she was 20. Great character, your mum. Like her. I've met her since anyway. And yeah, so right, some of you know what I did then, and I was still sort of carrying on singing. And then I taught in several other places, and it got to the stage where I was lecturing then at a technical college, and I was having to do shows in Manchester and get back at 5 in the morning, and then come and do a lecture at 9 o'clock. And I thought, this is getting a little bit silly, so I went pro. And I got lucky, and I got a TV programme sort of fairly soon. I was just sort of asked to do it, because I was on the local scene, and somebody said, oh, you might be good at comparing this, come and have a go. And so in those days it was fairly casual, and I did. And it gradually built from there, you know, just one thing built from it. It was never any game plan. I never thought I will go into showbiz. Never wanted to. Also, this is a good hobby, it's damn good pocket money, that's how I'll keep it. Until the two just wouldn't work together. And then I got lucky with I had a hit single. There's a song called The Oldest Swinger in Town, which I put on an LP. I was working then doing a lot of the college circuit. Now, that was sort of fairly sort of hard going, you know, but it was like volcanic. You used to play at beer festivals, you know, and you'd be ankle deep in beer trying to play. It was quite amazing. It was fun at times, but frightening at others. And I was doing a lot of that. I did the song Oldest Swinger, put it on an LP, and it was sat there. It was proved quite a popular song. And then a friend of mine who'd had a number one in the charts, he was running a radio station at the time. He said, you want to make a single out of that? And I said, nah, niggas, you know, I'm an LP band, I'm a concept of it. No, me, singles? No, that's the kids do that. No, have a go. So we did. And I had a manager in London then, and we made 1,000 copies of this single, printed them ourselves, okay? Don't cost too much, worked out about 25 pence a copy, something like that. And we worked out that we put 500 of them round the trade, give them out for publicity, and then we'd sell the rest of them at 50 pence a time off the stage, and we'd make £10 each. Me, my guitar player, and my manager, we'd make 10 quid each, we worked out. Wonderful, we thought, this good idea. And then Noel Edmonds picked up on it, and he was doing a radio show at the time, and he played it on a Sunday morning. And we'd done a show in Brighton the night before, me and my guitar player, and we drove home and we were knackered. And we got in, and his missus came leaping out the front window and said, Noel Edmonds played your single. And we said, go away and make us a cup of tea. Because we were tired. And then the phone kept ringing, and people were going, yes, right, big deal, we've had stuff played before, yes. But Noel Edmonds said it was going to be a hit. Yes, so he did, right, fine. Well, the next thing, it all went daft, because Noel Edmonds then played it again the next week, and played it twice, which is unprecedented, and it was like the top rating Radio 1 show at the time. And suddenly, the trade realised that A, they'd never heard of Fred Wedlock, B, he wasn't on an official record label. So, the next thing, there's all these limos colliding with each other outside my manager's office up in North London. And people fighting each other off to get up the stairs and get my signature on a bit of paper. Because they thought, Noel Edmonds says it's going to be a hit, we're going to make an awful lot of money out of this kitty. And that's how it happened. And so my manager sort of lined them all up and auctioned one off against another. And the way you work it is that you say, right, okay, you can have his signature if you're prepared to give us 12 pence in the pound on this, and because you don't make a lot of money, to be honest. You don't. That's more or less how it worked. Eventually, we signed to a company called Rocket, which is Elton John's company. And very nice outfit they were, and a nice bloke. And so it went up to about number 5 in the charts. And actually, on the way up, you see, you have a thing called the breakers, which is below 100 in the charts. And if a record's in the breakers, then the industry starts looking at it and saying, how fast is this coming? This looks like one that we can plug, so we'll go for this. Or they say, no, that's coming up very slowly, and it's a bit manky. Nah, we don't bother. And this one was coming up very fast through the breakers. And then you get to a certain level, and Top of the Pops turns around and says, right, we want this on Pops. Now that will guarantee that it will go up about 5-10 places in the charts. Now we actually got in there when we were in about the 30s, and they said this one's coming. Here we go, and so I had to get on Top of the Pops and perform it. The next week it rocketed up farther, and they said you've got to come in again, and this time you've got to dance. I said, I'm not going to dress up like an old pillock. I'm not going to wear all the medals. I'm not going to do this. I'm a singer. So there I am, standing there dressed up in all the medals and a shiny shirt and all the stuff with a group of dancing girls. And that was the second. And then it went up to 5 in the end in the UK charts. It got to number 1 in Ireland. It got to number 1 in Zimbabwe. She sold about 10 copies of it. It got to number 1 in Jordan for some reason. Weird how it works. And so that was the tale of that one. But that was luck. It was pure luck. If you think that was all because it's all talent and down to plugging, and plugging played a part in it, certainly. But we hit the charts. We tried for a December release, a Christmas release. We wanted to go for the Christmas chart, and we cocked it up. We got our timings wrong. We didn't get the stuff pressed in time. Small company, the pressing plant said, "Oh, sorry, chaps, we got this big order from EMI, so we just do them, and then we'll get yours in." You push back down the line. It actually came out in January. Now the charts had gone flat all of a sudden. John Lennon had been right on top with Imagine. He died just before that. And charts are all a bit dismal. And so this funny song suddenly appears, and everybody says, "Oh, that's a bit of a laugh, nasty January day, we'll buy that. Hey, that's all about our dad, that song, isn't it? Hey, we'll have that one." And so it sold lots and lots, which is why, if we'd actually hit it when we wanted to, like late October, November for Christmas, we probably wouldn't have got anywhere, because other things would have taken its place. Luck, pure luck. So there. Right.
That was the bell.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, it just got going. So next week, is that it then?
That's
it.
it.
Bell. We're governed by bells. Well, has anybody got one question from anybody before we go? Is it something I've missed out? Hey?
Play it tonight.
Well, I'll play it now if you've got time. It's entirely up to you. Nah. 2 minutes?
Yeah.
2 minutes. No more. My voice have changed since I first did it. Actually, when I was writing it, I was describing a record producer I was working with who was spot on down the line in this song. I mean, he had the lot. He had the open neck shirt, he had the medallion, he had the gold bits, he had his hair done, chasing young women. He was absolutely right. And when I took, he was with the EMI, and when I took it to him on the first recording, because I was in contract with the EMI at the time, and he listened to it and he said, "It's a bit close to home, isn't it?" And EMI rejected it because he was embarrassed. And because of that, my EMI contract lapsed, which is why we were able to negotiate a contract with Rocket and make a hell of a lot more money. And EMI lost the song, and they lost a hit. So, yours EMI. So well, it's far worse the company who turned the Beatles down now, because that was true. when you score with a chick in a disco bar. Take her home in your hairy little car, then you find you went to school with her mama. You're the oldest swinger in town, when you won't look in a mirror in the light of day. You swear you dyed it when your hair turns grey. Zip up your wranglers and your bellies in the way. You're the oldest swinger in town. Here you come and there you go, mobile phone and a stereo, but the engine's clapped and the driver also is the oldest swinger in town. When your barber takes a little less time each week, the kids don't understand a word you speak. You walk into a disco and they offer you a seat. You're the oldest swinger in town. Prefer a pint of scrumpy to Bacardi and Coke. The sounds are too loud and there's too much smoke. You're not getting the dance, you're scared you'll have a stroke. You're the oldest swinger in town. Here you come with your chest all bare, a little gold ingot and a lot of gold hair. Like the disco king meets Yogi Bear. You're the oldest swinger in town. Stiff as a skinhead's boot, you rub on Vic where you used to smash fruit. The latest punk fashion is your wedding suit. You're the oldest swinger in town. When you have to go shopping for your sex appeal, Ray-Ban shades and 9-inch heels, you say a man is just as old as the woman he feels. You're the oldest swinger in town. Here you come with your lips closed tight. You never smile, you know it wouldn't look right, cause your dentures glow in ultraviolet light. But you're the oldest swinger in town. Oldest swinger in town. And you look so mean cause your pants are too tight. You're the oldest swinger in town. Oldest swinger in town. And it takes you all night to do what you used to do all night. You're the oldest swinger in town. Thank you. Thank you for being undoubtedly the nicest audience I've spoken to this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Fred.